Hey, this video is tips for literature and language. It may just end up being one or the other. We'll see. It might be part 1, part 2. But you're year 10, you're going to year 11, you take literature and language because you have to by law, and maybe you really love it and want to do it next year. But let me just give you some tips. Throw it in your way. Take it, leave it, share it with your mates. Don't share it with your mates. Thumbs up, thumbs down. However you feel. So the first thing I want to say is definitely read or watch or listen to the passage. Even if you're not going to read the book / play or whatever you're doing, there are loads of free audiobooks here on YouTube. You could use Audibly. There are so many movie versions of things. There are play versions of things. Just make sure you actually know what's going on, because you can't just rely on the revision guide, let's be honest. CGP may be amazing, but you can't just reply, like you cannot solely lean on that. So make sure you actually know the story. Then one thing that a lot of people I went to school did is they would write down which were the key chapters for key events. So for Pride and Prejudice, it's like 60 something chapters. So they would say, oh, in chapter 27 this happens, in that chapter the second proposal, the first proposal. So you don't have to know what happens in every chapter, because some chapters are they're space fillers. Like, I'm sorry, Jane Austen, but like some of them are just a bit, they're not relevant to the course. Then you need to also make sure that you are learning quotes from those areas. What we did is that we chose themes and characters, so we would learn quotes for that, and you have to try as hard as possible to learn quotes that you can use for different things. So quotes that can be used for maybe 3 things, for example. So, are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted can be used to refer to Lady Catherine de Bourgh as a character. It can be used to refer to Darcy if he represents Pemberley. It can be used to talk about class, so that's a 3rd thing. It can be used to compare to the Bennets and how they parent, that's a 4th thing. It can be used to talk about location and the setting, that's 5 things. So that one quote is for 5 things already. So then you minimize the number of quotes you have to do. I wish I did this more. I changed English teacher during year 11. I was like, I probably should have done that, but it's too late because I've already learnt these. So I ended up learning, for Pride and Prejudice, 11 times 3 plus all the characters. So maybe like 60 quotes for Pride and Prejudice. So yeah, I learnt way too many quotes, but make sure that you know them quite well, because if you make little mistakes, like, the examiner's not really going to pick you up on that. But one thing is, the examiner may be someone who's never read it before, but the examiner also could be someone who is doing a PhD in it. So you have to, like, you can't just risk it for the biscuit, because the biscuit is not always worth it. The next thing you have to think about is AO3. Don't invest in it too much. I just was way too invested in AO3. I learned the life history of Shakespeare and Austen, and I watched this and I watched that, and it was useful because it made me stand out, because not only did I know Tom Lefroy, who is one of Austen's lovers, I guess. She couldn't be with him because he was broke and she was rich. But I also learned about another guy, forgot his name, sorry mate, who her family wanted her to marry and she didn't. And like, little things like that make you stand out. But you also have to remember, it is 6 marks for AO3. There is a cap on AO3. You cannot just ride the whole thing on all your historical knowledge. And as much as it's like useful, you also have to tone it down. Next thing, I've spoken about this in all my literature videos, is squillock. That is the like skeleton I use for pretty much every kind of analysis question, and I change things in and out, but it is statement, quote, inference, language analysis or language evaluation. E is for evaluation of the author's intention or the playwright or whoever it is, so evaluation of why they did it. The R is for reader, so contemporary readers, modern readers, what were the audience like. The C is for cross-referencing, context, or critic. So that's 3 C's, but I only ever use 2. So you could say critics say that Austen did this and that, or you could say similarly Austen's contemporaries did this, or similarly earlier in the play she did this. And then context would just be like, oh, the reason Austen did this is because the socioeconomic disposition of the people in that time meant that blah, 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 blah. So yeah, have a structure, have your quotes. Practice makes perfect. The more you write, the better you get. Like all my other humanities teachers, my English teachers were given multiple essays to mark. Every lesson, couple of lessons, I would just write and write and write. And even though, yes, not all of them got marked, because I'm going to be honest, I gave them way too many to mark, it was just practice for me, and you guys need to practice as much as you can if it's something you really struggle with. So that's my tips for the literature aspect. For language, everyone says you can't revise it, but you actually can, and the way you revise language is by doing it. But you need to have a method when you do it, or else you're just wasting your time. So with me, what we did in class is we went through full mark answers and responses. We went through the mark scheme to work out what we needed to do, and then we also came up with our own solution. So with me, when I'm going into question 5 paper 1, I know I need to include a variety of punctuation, a variety of sentence length, a variety of this, a variety of that, cyclical, flashbacks, a nice wide range of vocabulary. I talk about this in my creative writing video. Please put a card up here. Thank you, Anjy. And yeah, you need to make sure that you have a plan, and you're a man with a plan. You go in, you do it, you get it marked, and you see how you move from there. That is the only way I think you can revise it. I have recommended 2 books before, and the books, I'll put cards to everything. They come for grade 3, grade 5, and grade 9, I think. No, 5, 7, 9. They come for certain grades, and I would say actually the lower grade ones are more useful than the grade 9 ones. But yeah, that is my tips for language and literature. It is overwhelming. There's a lot of quotes to learn, so much poetry, so much analysis, so much to remember, but everyone's in the same boat as you. And hopefully if it's really difficult, the grade boundaries will reflect that. For me, we had a bit of both. Romeo and Juliet, they asked us about Romeo and Juliet, which was like so broad and so easy. Pride and Prejudice, they asked us about the protagonist's parents. So it's like, So yeah, share this with anyone who you think it will help, and as always, make sure you're wonderful people, smile, subscribe, study hard, slay hard, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!